Mary Catherine Ham, Brian Wilson, Brian Neiman, today's newsmakers, and you, the Morning Majority. 105.9 FM, AM 630, WMAL.
6:37 on the Morning Majority. Brian Wilson, Brian Neiman, Mary Catherine Ham in. And you know, there's been a lot of talk in the last week or so about that drone, the U.S. drone, the RQ-170 drone, that we apparently somehow lost control of and somehow ended up in the hands of the Iranians. And, you know, the president saying, please, Mr. Ahmadinejad, would you give it back? Not likely to happen. But there's a lot of questions about how this actually happened. We thought it'd be a good idea to check in with Richard Miniter, an investigative journalist who talks about and studies these kinds of things. Richard is actually on the phone from Bahrain. Richard, good to have you on the Morning Majority.
Hey, Brian, great to be with you.
All right, so what do we know about this drone? What have we learned about what happened? And how seriously should we take these claims by the Iranians that they were able to control our drone?
Well, I think it's laughable that the Iranians were able to remotely control the drone. And I don't know anyone inside the intelligence community who takes that seriously. But let's back up here. First of all, it appears that the drone was brought down by high winds. I mean, there are a variety of drones in the U.S. fleet, but they're very easily affected by wind and weather. And it apparently crashed in Afghanistan near the Iranian border, not necessarily in Iran. Other people inside the military and intelligence community say it did crash in Iran, but was driven there by wind. In either case, there's just nobody on the inside with knowledge of these things that I've been able to talk to who says the Iranians controlled it or shot it down. And as for the photos, I don't know if you've seen them, Brian, but the photos of Iran's displaying of the so-called drone, it looks like a prop from a sci-fi movie. It doesn't look like a U.S. drone at all. And the drone, my understanding is the drone in question that's missing is much smaller than the one the Iranians have displayed. So it doesn't look like a drone, and it doesn't look like the one that's missing. So it's almost certainly a fake. Now the question is, and then we can enter the world of shadows here, why would the Iranians display a drone that they know that U.S. intelligence will know is a fake? Maybe because they have recovered the real drone from the mountains of Afghanistan or Iran and don't want to let us know exactly what condition the drone is in, so they display something else which will fool their population and credulous people around the world. At the same time, they're able to take apart and examine the drone that they in fact do have. Or maybe they're not in possession of the drone at all. They're aware that it crashed and are not able to get any usable remains out of it to display.
All right.
So it's did they know? They know they're trying to fool us. We know that they're trying to fool us. The question is why.
Two questions then. Why did the president ask Iran for the drone back then, if that's the case? And number two, do these things have self-destruct buttons?
Okay, my understanding is they do not have complete full self-destruct buttons like you'd see in the movies, where they push one flashing red light and the thing disappears in a perfectly clean explosion. Why not is an interesting question. You're adding weight to a very lightweight aircraft. I mean, some of these things weigh only without fuel, only a couple hundred pounds. With fuel, 600 or 700 pounds. If you're adding, C4 or some other explosive, you're adding weight, which is going to reduce the amount of time the drone can linger on target. Now, why did Obama ask for the drone back? Now, this is going to take us back into the world of shadows, the house of mirrors that is intelligence. If U.S. intelligence knows that the drone being displayed is fake, asking for it back is kind of basically sending a message to the Iranians: we don't believe you. We don't believe you have anything. Prove it to us. So it's sort of calling their bluff. They displayed a fake drone. We say, give us our drone back, knowing full well they have nothing in return but a bit of plastic and Christmas lights.
Richard, someone reported yesterday an Iranian headline translated as "Obama begs Iran to give him back his toy plane." Is that an accurate characterization of Iranian media coverage of this, or what is the sort of general tone of the reply over there, and does it matter?
Well, the repressed reporters in Iran don't get to lash out very much. So when they get to write a headline about an American president, they go full throttle. Nice. It's interesting to use the phrase toy plane, though, because the drone that's missing, my understanding is actually quite small. So it would look like a toy. to people who are unfamiliar with it. It's not this big impressive wingspan like the fake drone they've displayed. But generally, the tone toward Obama in the Iranian press has been, both in English and in Farsi, has been very mocking. They don't take Obama seriously. They don't see him as much of a threat. And the idea that the president has been able to restart a dialogue with Iran is, proven to be completely an illusion. The Iranians are more aggressive than ever. They continue to work on their atomic weapons program. They continue to build long-range missiles, especially the Shahab-3, and they're in development on the Shahab-4. That they're getting new guidance systems from China to improve the accuracy of those missiles. And when those missiles are complete, they could theoretically carry atomic weapons. And, of course, they're financing terrorist attacks against U.S. forces in Afghanistan and elsewhere.
Well, we have seen another report that says that the United States lost a drone in Seychelles. Apparently, it was landing and it crash landed at the last minute at the international airport there in Seychelles. So, should we be worried about whether or not our systems are being? You just discount this idea that systems have been co-opted.
Well, in the Seychelles, and bear in mind, we're talking thousands of miles from Iran. And the Seychelles
right, I understand.
are closer to Burma and Indian Ocean.
But a place where the Chinese are known to operate.
A different kind of drone than the ones the Iranians have shot down. So, but in general, the danger of reporting losses of drones is that, in fact, we've lost quite a few since the beginning of the drone program in the early part of this decade. And most of them have been brought down through weather, and then a handful of them through pilot error. I mean, it's, most of these things are reported remotely piloted out of an Air Force base in Nevada. And when the computer link is lost or, there's just simply human error, some of these have crashed. I'm sure that the Pentagon has begun or will begin a review of procedures and start looking at possibilities. I mean, these are expensive. But I think the fact that two have crashed, in
Gotcha.
a week doesn't necessarily mean that the program is flawed.
All right, Richard, great to have you on. Thank you very much. We appreciate your insight.